Hello, everybody. Welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for Dearly Departed Premier League preview for round 27. We got 5 games to talk about for the Dearly Departed, who, of course, are the teams I covered down in the Championship, currently plying their trade in the Premier League. So we're going to be talking Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Leeds, Fulham and West Brom. Before we get into the action, let's say a big thank you to Jay Coyle, our fan sponsor, Dearly Departed, also known as Ben. Couldn't bear to lose us. Do, if you've watched any of my videos ever, have a little think about going and getting involved over on Patreon as we try and make me talking about football a viable pursuit. That is the best way to support. What's going on today? Even we're recording on Saturday morning here. And here are your fixtures for round 27. As ever, the blue bell is next to any of the Dearly Departed games. And we've got 5 this week. No Dearly Departed derbies at all. It is on Saturday. The early kickoff is Burnley-Arsenal. And then the next 2 games are Dearly Departed. We've got Sheffield United and Southampton, Aston Villa and Wolves, with Brighton and Leicester playing out the 8 p.m. game. Over to Sunday, and this is going to be a watch-along, Sunday lunchtime, West Brom versus Newcastle, and then the 2 p.m. is Liverpool, Fulham. The rest of the Sunday games go Manchester City, Manchester United, and the big Manchester derby, Spurs Palace, Chelsea, Everton. And then on Monday night, West Ham versus Leeds. I suspect we may well be watching that one as well. As ever with the Dearly Departed fixtures, any big stories develop, we'll go with a Sunday morning type review. If not, if defeats stack up, we'll go over on Tuesday morning and get everything done. Right, let's get into the games. And our first one is Aston Villa versus Wolves in the Andy Gray derby, I think we call it, don't we? And Villa off the back of a disappointing midweek loss in a Dearly Departed derby for them at Sheffield United. They went down 1-0 to the Blades, and a cursory look at the table tells us that they would now be on 42 points and level with Spurs in 8th place, were they to have won that game. They got nothing, and it's 2 defeats in 3 for Villa. There is a sense when you look at that table that it's kind of stacking up for the traditional big boys, a couple of those London clubs. Maybe Arsenal might get ahead as the season goes on, but Villa certainly still well positioned. They are in the midst of trying to cope without Cash and without Grealish, who haven't been around, either of them, for the past few games. And, I mean, obviously you'd imagine that Grealish would be the big loss, being such a good player. But I think in terms of balance at the back, Cash not being there makes a difference. He's been so good this season since arriving from Forest. There's the team, which has been so for the last couple of games. Dean Smith switching a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3. Just a bit of extra midfield assurance needed against Leeds. Well, I wonder, does he go back 4-2-3-1 in this game against Wolves? We will find out. But it has been Martinez, Target Mings, Konza, El Mohammadi again. That will be the same depending on Cash. McGinn, Nakamba and Ramsey. So Douglas Luiz stepping out, and 2 essential new faces who haven't necessarily been regulars this season in. Traore and El Ghazi wide with Watkins up top. If he does go back to a 4-2-3-1, you would imagine that would mean Ross Barkley coming back in. He's had a couple of games out of the team. And I don't know, you just wonder whether with Wolves, who are quite good at sitting off and striking, whether there might be a space for, it's a different challenge, isn't it, for a Ross Barkley type guy, whether he's ready to come back in. There's the Villa form, which over the last 7 goes 1 loss, 1 drawn, loss, 1 loss. So it's a little bit spotty. There's wins over Southampton, Arsenal and Leeds. Plenty of clean sheets as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 in those last 7 games. But recent defeats to Leicester and, of course, given the league position and the red card for Sheffield United, more disappointingly against Sheffield United. For Wolves, they've been in good form, hadn't they? Look at that, going into the last game against Manchester City, which they lost. Go figure, everyone loses to Man City at the moment. They're 14 points clear. But prior to that, it had been 11 points in 5 with wins against Leeds and Southampton and Arsenal, which had just propelled Wolves to 34 points, and any idea of a relegation slip sort of subsiding thereafter. It's a game I do think Villa can win. They won the return game very, very late. Penalty from El Ghazi put that one in. I just wonder whether they fit Barkley back in and whether they go to that system that, yes, I know the 4-3-3 did beat Leeds, didn't it? But whether they go to that system that had been more successful. With my dearly departed hat on, I have some level of optimism. Optimism is quite low sometimes on this dearly departed stage. But let's predict a Villa win and cross our fingers that they can get back to winning ways. But Wolves will not be a pushover in their form at the moment. Get your thoughts in via the comments. Next up, and we shudder every time we see this team, West Ham versus Leeds. And I jest, but West Ham have just destroyed the dearly departed this season. They've beaten all of them, haven't they? And we did, in fact, get our first draw for the dearly departed against West Ham. Fulham managed to get a draw against them. But generally speaking, they have been absolutely dominant against our dearly departed teams and dispatched them. They're having such a good season, West Ham. You can see them up in 6th in the table. I suppose they gave Manchester City a more competitive game than a lot of teams have recently. And they're just having an excellent season, West Ham. 6th position, 45 points from 20... Can I read that? 26 games, a little bit small, my apologies. There. Leeds are having one of the... There's been an ebb and flow to Leeds season, hasn't there? Where there's been defeats, but they've always been followed up pretty efficiently with wins thereafter. And we've sort of got little runs of 3 wins in 4s that have overlapped 3 defeats in 4. If you look at the recent games, we're actually in a run of 3 defeats in 4. Now with the loss at Arsenal and Wolves, we had the win over Southampton, but then the loss at home to Villa occurring. So the worry is that a defeat in this game, and then it's 4 defeats from 5. So this is where Leeds have been good this season and bounced back and not gone on, back-to-back-to-back defeats. However, there's double concern here for me, I have to say. 1, West Ham are good, and 2, Leeds look like they're still going to be without Phillips. I think Rodrigo, according to Twitter, was playing against the under-23, so perhaps he gets on the bench, but I wouldn't have thought he'd start. So that team that played last time out, Meslier, Ayling, Llorente, Cooper, Dallas, strike in if Phillips is not yet back. Costa or Harrison, who knows? That's probably just a simple form or rotation or, freshening up thing there. Roberts, Click, Rafinha. Well, there's Hernandez has got a couple of minutes off the bench, and then there is Rodrigo in central midfield. Of course, there is the option if he wants to go tighter to drop Dallas in there and put Alioski in at left back, but. We know Bielsa doesn't tinker too much. Obviously, Bamford's had such a good season. You'd imagine he stays up top. And West Ham are just a good side, aren't they? They've got Souček and Rice are really, really good, aren't they? And then you've got Antonio, who's powerful up front. And then sort of the likes of Bowen and Ben Rama and Lingard playing off. And of course, with it, Moyes, tight from back to front, solid defence. decent enough fullbacks, just a good team where the cogs of the team seem to fit the system very, very well. West Ham, obviously, I think it's a Souček goal, winning at Leeds earlier in the season. Any signs of... I mean, it would be an upset win. You can see West Ham 4 wins in those last 7. Leeds do have 3, and it's just that issue that's come up many times this season, where Leeds can get the game swinging and flowing and moving and less stoic, like West Ham are quite good at making it. Leeds tend to be more successful. It's the worry that Moyes is a difficult opponent here. I'll go for a draw on the basis that we get a slight regression to the mean, essentially, from both. You'd expect Leeds to trend up from where they are right now short term, and you'd expect long term West Ham to just trend down a little bit because they've been so good, haven't they? So I don't forecast a Leeds win. Phillips is key, as he always is, but let's go for a draw in this one in what is going to be a tricky Monday night game for Leeds United. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Next up is Liverpool versus Fulham, a game that months ago you would be shuddering, thinking, well, let's just go and lose by as few goals as possible. But Liverpool just continually keep losing at home now, don't they? The Premier League champions, former European champions as well, in a bit of a transitional moment, aren't they, from the amazing Klopp team that won those honours to maybe transition into what's going to happen next. Jamie Carragher's talked very well on Sky about team cycles and how long they last for, and perhaps we're on the cusp of maybe a new team cycle starting here. Fulham, very frustrating defeat against Spurs in the midweek. And, of course, it would be remiss of me to not talk about this handball situation where Fulham had a goal disallowed using that wording that says, basically, where a handball is not deliberate, it will still be penalised if you score immediately after it. And the IFAB dictate is now that from July, that will change. And the Premier League could have acted on it now, but they're choosing to go with July. The long and the short of it is, under the new wording, that Fulham goal would have stood. So, frustration, again, with the handball rules. We need to come at it as a position of some empathy, because that's what emotionally mature people try and do. That the powers that be of football are trying their best to make things work in the VAR world. It's just slow progress. And this is a positive, I guess, but no consolation for Fulham fans who, frankly, a day after they've been, penalised on this law, it changes, does feel a little bit icky for them, doesn't it? Anyway, Fulham's recent form had been very good, hadn't it? Particularly 8 points in 4 games and lots of clean sheets as well. Clean sheet against West Ham, against Everton, against Sheffield United, against Palace. They just lost out to a Dele Alli goal against Spurs. So they are viable, Fulham. They are competitive. They're decent at the back. They don't score many goals, do they? Josh Mager's got the responsibility up top. In fact, let's look at the team. That was who went against Spurs. Areola, Iain, Anderson, Rabiot, Robinson, Loftus-Cheek, Cavaliero, Reed, Lamina, Mager and Lookman. I suspect it's a bit more fluid than a 4-4-2 that they've got marked up there with a sort of a double pivot, and maybe Lookman is a 10 and it's more a 4-2-3-1, but I'm sure the SofaScore nerdery and the heat maps have transmogrified it into that 4-4-2. So you wouldn't think it'd be much different. I think this is Parker's team now, and other than maybe Anguissa, I don't really know who gets in that bunch. I think that's who he wants to finish out the season with. Talking about Liverpool, just incredible. 5 defeats in the last 6 games. Most recently now they lost to Chelsea in midweek. Didn't score in that game. Didn't score in the previous home game against Everton. Got hammered in the previous home game by Manchester City and didn't score in the previous home game and lost to Brighton. So everyone's going to be looking at it with this home record, and it becomes very binary. It becomes very much, will Liverpool lose again, or will Liverpool bounce back and beat Fulham? Do Fulham have a chance? Well, of course they have a chance. Everyone seems to be able to give it a go against Liverpool at the moment and try and exploit the high line with less effective defenders in it due to injury at the moment. Maybe some confidence, psychology here. It's going to be very, very difficult for Fulham, obviously. They got within 3 points of Newcastle, who we're going to talk about in the next game. It would be highly optimistic of me to predict anything in Fulham's favour, given that we do expect a Liverpool regression to the mean at some point, don't we? So I will cautiously, quietly think maybe Fulham can get something, whilst predicting a Liverpool win, assuming that the form comes back. But let's see. Another interesting game at Anfield. Get your predictions in via the comments. And next up is a very big game, this. West Brom versus Newcastle. For many, many reasons, this one. Lots going on at Newcastle. Sorry, let me just bring the tables back up. So the 3-point gap exists. And Newcastle do have a game in hand between Newcastle and the relegation zone. But there is very much a sense of chaos at Newcastle with injuries to Almiron and St Maximin, and all of this press nonsense with Steve Bruce and Matt Ritchie and a mole in the camp and a fallout and all of that stuff that if you're a Newcastle fan you just would not want to be seeing. Chaos can undermine many a season. We've seen it many, many times. Obviously Sam Allardyce used to manage Newcastle as well, so many, many subplots in this one. West Brom disappointing defeat against Everton. You know, it was a kind of Big Sam-esque narrative, wasn't it? Everton keeping it tight and scoring from a set play to win at West Brom. Big Sam would have been, well, we know that that's the plan, don't we? But it went the other way. West Brom have been much better, recently. If you look going into that game, it had been 2 draws and a victory and 2 clean sheets in a row. Obviously, some big mitigating factors in the Brighton game where Brighton missed 2 penalties and we got that strange free kick stuff from referee Mason as well. The West Brom team is building to what Big Sam wants. Johnston, Furlong, O'Shea. You expected Jai. I think he's off suspension now to come back in. Bartley, Townsend. Yokuslu seems to be effective. Gallagher and Maitland-Niles I don't think will change. There's been some rotation in the wide positions. Maybe a Snodgrass in pass. But Phillips and Pereira last time with Diania up top. So the team is set up. This won't be one for the faint-hearted, but I do like these kind of tactical battles. As we've mentioned, Newcastle without a couple of key players. And we know Big Sam has been famous over the years for the targeting of specific games. Surely this one has got a gold star, a pin in it, whatever you want to see on the wall at West Brom. They have to win this game. If they do, they would only be 6 points off Newcastle with 10 games to go. And you would think the direction of travel is opposite for both teams. Newcastle haven't won many games, in ages now. And there is a trend up for West Brom. With my dearly departed hat firmly on, I would like the cat put amongst the pigeons. I think it'll be tight, and if West Brom do win, I suspect it would be by 1-0. But let's see. I'm going to predict a West Brom home win, and the cat to be amongst the pigeons and the relegation chase to be on. Newcastle, on the other hand, could deliver an absolutely decisive blow at the bottom here. Although, we thought it was decisive a few weeks ago, didn't we? And the gap has closed up since. Anyway, West Brom to beat Newcastle? Well, you let me know what you think down there in the comments. And finally, excuse me as I take a swig of my drink, Sheffield United versus Southampton. And just when you think Sheffield United, oh, okay, another losing streak and, we'll be announcing relegation soon, they have a win against Aston Villa. So take a look at the table on the right-hand side, 14 points. They're still 12 off. But again, we've spoken about Newcastle. And Newcastle, we could have a scenario where Newcastle lose and maybe West Brom and Sheffield United win and, everything is closer. It could obviously go completely the other way and everything gets stretched a little bit more. But good win for Sheffield United in the week. Lots of stories, though, coming out about Chris Wilder and the ownership and them wanting to install a director of football. And I don't know. You don't like those rumblings, whatever truth there is in them. Let's keep our eye on that. Chris Wilder certainly has been an incredible boss for Sheffield United through League One, through the Championship. Great season in the Premier League. It would be nice to see even, as and when they do go down, which we think they will, him stay and direct them back. And, this long-term job of sort of installing Sheffield United as a Premier League regular. It'd be nice to see him get a chance to do that. And sometimes, and we'll see with the Norwich example, whether the bounce and then back again, and then can you stay in there? Obviously, defeats are plenty recently, and excuse me, I appear to have got the wrong the wrong results there. I've got the West Brom and Newcastle ones pasted in there. So my apologies, but you can look at the form to say that it had been 4 straight defeats going into that Villa game. And Southampton, though, trending downwards equally badly. And they'd been right high up in the league, Southampton, hadn't they? I think they were like second or third at some point. May have even been top for in the middle of a game week or something like that. But yeah, a poor run from them. They're down on 30 points. Probably a few too many points to be seriously worried. But hey, another 4 defeats in the next 5 games and we'll see where things are. Issues abound for Sheffield United. Obviously, Jagielka was sent off in the last game against Villa. So unless I haven't heard and that's been rescinded, he'll be suspended. So they're just really struggling without centre-halves. No Egan, Basham or O'Connell in the last game. Fingers crossed any one of them's back, because I think Ollie McBurney had to come on and play centre-half to finish out that game. Ramsdale seems to be playing better now. Baldock, Stevens, Bogle's not around. Lundstrom, Norwood, Fleck, Berger's not around. And he seems to have options up top. I think they could get something from this one, Sheffield United, especially given Southampton's poor run at the moment. So let's go for fantasy scenario here, and a Newcastle defeat and a West Brom and a Sheffield United win, and everything closing up. Let me know what you think in the comments. Can Sheffield United go back to back, and will they have anybody available to play centre back at any point this weekend? That is my predictions for that. Get yours down in the comments. That's our show. Thank you to J Coyle, who's our fan sponsor. Dearly departed, also known as Ben, couldn't bear to lose us. Have a think about getting involved over on Patreon. You get some Patreon exclusive content over there, and you get to help out, frankly. What more can you get? A bit of football chat and a good feeling in your soul. Support the channel. We will be back, as I always say. The games are stretched out over to the Monday night, aren't they? With Leeds playing West Ham. So any big sort of stories develop will go on Sunday morning, and we'll do a review on Monday morning. If not, we'll do a full précis of everything on Tuesday. That is our dearly departed show. Remember, Saturday Super Stream today at 1:30, and we'll be watching along West Brom and Newcastle from about 11:50. It's a midday kickoff on Sunday. So enjoy your weekend of football, and I will see you very, very soon. And it's over and out from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.